Hello and welcome to the Twin Cities Jewish Film Festival, now in its 28th year. My name is Riv Shapiro and I'm the festival's producing director. I'm so excited to be joined today by Orit Fokus Rotem, who is the writer and director of narrative feature film Cinema Sabaya. Orit, thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure.
Can you tell us a bit about the inspiration for this film?
Well, actually, it's based on my mother's experience. She's the Hadera, which is a small city between Haifa and Tel Aviv in Israel. She's the mayor advisor for women's issues in Hadera. And she participated in a group of stills photography for Jewish and Arab women that work in the city hall. And that gave me the inspiration for this platform of writing on a course that deals with observing and art through the eyes of women that usually don't meet each other. And I started actually doing those kind of courses myself as a research. And I wrote it while I did it. And I was inspired by many women that I met. And also I was inspired from my actresses' life in some parts and in some cases. And yeah, it took me like almost 10 years to do this film. So it's really excited. I'm really excited to be in this phase of Q&A.
Wow, so it was 10 years between having the idea and starting to do the research and finishing?
Yes.
Because I think I saw in another Q&A that you shot it in a very short period of time. Is that true?
12 days. 12
Wow.
days. Yeah, it was crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the but I worked on it for so many years. And then in the end, yeah, you have only the opportunity to do it in so little time. It's yeah, this is our world.
And it turned out pretty amazing. And I think it
Thank
left a
you.
lot of people wondering whether they just watched a narrative or a documentary. So can you talk about the choice to sort of toe that line and how you achieved that effect?
Well, actually, I didn't think about it as a lie, as I mean, I wanted it to be believable and that you'll believe what you see. And of course, because it's a video camera course, I used also Rona's camera sometimes, the instructor camera. But I wanted it to feel real. I didn't think that people can think it's a documentary. But it's I get this a lot, these reactions, and at the beginning it really was a surprise for me because I put Dana Ivgi, which is one of the most famous actresses in Israel, and her name is Rona, and it's for me it's a success that people think it's a documentary, but it's not my intention from the beginning. So yeah, I just wanted it to be real.
And can you share more about how you achieved that authenticity? I think I've heard that some of the scenes were semi-improvised. What was the balance
Yeah.
of scripting and improv?
Yeah, we had a script and we used it, but we weren't tied to it. I wanted my actresses to feel free to improvise, and sometimes we even did takes of like half an hour that they just started from the text and continued a conversation and an improvised conversation based on the text. Uh, and they knew where the conversation has to go, but they can use their own words. So, and also we used two cameras to shoot it, and so I wouldn't have to do another take, and they have to say it from this way and this angle and this angle. I wanted it to be, I wanted to be free from having uh, to do it over and over again, and I think that the fact we did it in only 12 days, we used it as an effect. There's a sentence, use the defect as an effect, and we just used it as a way to shoot it. We shot one session a day chronologically, and we just yeah, it was almost like shooting a documentary, but it's not a documentary in any way. It's and also I wanted the footage that the women bring to feel real. So most of them, the women shot themselves. It's not their life. In most cases, it's not. It's the Etty, for instance, when she shot her husband washing the car. It's an act, is an extra, and it's not her house, but still she held the camera because I wanted her to feel like it's her own thing that she brings to class,
Mm.
and not to have to fake this authenticity with my cinematographer. And also when the women just watched the footages for the first time on set, they knew what they're going to watch because they read it in the scripts, but the reactions were authentic because they really watched it for the first time on set. So that's
Great, thank
part of
you.
it.
Can you tell us more about the moment where the class confronts Rona about the picture of her kissing another woman? She says it's her sister, which seems to comfort the class, but especially as a queer person, that seems a little bit suspect. And I'm wondering if we're meant to read Rona's character as queer or not, and if so, why was that important to her character?
It's not. It's actually it's really her sister in life, really. And I wanted it to be a question that I wanted them, the women, to think something about her and to be curious about her, and that she has a secret from them. But it could be a lot of things. I just thought that being a lesbian is interesting because it's open a discussion between the women that I find interesting, but it could also be something else. It's not like I intended it to be on this topic. I mean, I'm happy that it's that's what it was, but it's not the main thing. The main thing is the secret and the curiosity for her, and everyone can take it as they understand. If you understood she's lying, it's good. If you understand it's really her sister, it's good for me. I just wanted to have a question about her because she doesn't really tell about her life, and I wanted to put it on the table, you know, to not to avoid it.
Right, because there is that inherent imbalance that she's seeing them being so vulnerable and they're not really seeing parts of who she is.
Yeah. Like in real life, the directors and the characters.
Right. So have you ever faced the kind of ethical decision as a filmmaker that Rona faces of what to do with this amazing footage that's coming out? And is it okay to even start to edit things even if you're not going to share it? Is this is this something that
Yeah,
you
it's actually
explore?
it's actually based on my dilemmas. Not that I really thought of doing something, but when I did those courses, I met a lot of interesting women with interesting stories, and I thought maybe it can be a documentary. But for a minute, I thought it, and I thought, okay, it can't be because they wouldn't want to be exposed. But if this is my dilemma, this should be the my protagonist dilemma. So that gave me the inspiration to write this dilemma for Rona. But for me, it wasn't a real dilemma. It was just a step in my understanding how this film should be.
Hmm. So you never even broached it with the class. You never asked them if they would be interested.
No, because I understood who I'm working with. Because if a woman can't do a driving license because her husband doesn't want her to do it, then probably being on a film is not something
Right,
that is possible for her.
right. Was that an actual true story from your courses, or
Yeah,
was that, wow,
yeah. That's based on one of the women. Of course, it's changed a lot. It's not the same religion. It's not the same age, or but it did something I met in my story, in my experience. Yeah.
wow. So, am I right that this was your first feature film?
Yeah. Before that, I did
Congratulations.
three shorts fiction films and a part of a documentary series. And yeah,
Well, congratulations, especially, the journey that you've been on for 10 years to create this. It's quite profound to hear that, you had this idea and then you kind of lived it yourself to discover the story. And the result, I think, is really stunning. So great work.
Mhm.
We're so glad to have the film in the festival.
Thank you. Yeah, and it's
Um,
now, yeah, now we're doing a campaign to the Oscar, and because it won the Ophir prizes, and now it's Israel representative to the Oscar, and we are.
oh,
I'm actually coming to New York soon, to LA to screen it, and yeah, so it's really
congratulations.
exciting.
I was
Mhm.
gonna ask, how has the film been received in Israel and has the reception differed across place
It's
and
actually the
country?
same. It's actually the same, I must say, because in Israel the reactions are really good, and people are really um, react to this film in a very emotional way. That it surprised me and excites me every time I see it. But people really feel like they're in a roller coaster of emotions after it. And I think also abroad, I mean, there are sometimes questions about nuances that are maybe more clear in Israel, but people don't really look at it as Arab and Jewish women, but as women. And that was my intention as well. So it's
Great.
pretty much similar.
Well, last question, is there anything that you're working on now?
There are some projects that I'm working on, but still all really in the beginning of the. I want to do to try to do a series for the television, because I want to make a living in cinema. In Israel, you don't make a living at all, and also because I want to explore, to tell a story for a longer period of time, and I think this is my next step.
Exciting. We'll be looking out for
Yeah.
it. Thank you
Thank you.
so much for joining us
Thank
today.
you.
And thank you to our audience for participating in this year's festival. And we hope you enjoy the rest of this year's films. Bye for now.
Bye bye.